Go to whirlwindgolf.com, click on Whirlwind Plus. You can save up to 60% on greens fees, 15% at the restaurant Civlic and the Pro Shop, and be entered to win all kinds of prizes throughout the year and enjoy great contests. Go to whirlwindgolf.com and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Form an offense.
Form an offense.
4 minutes.
Form an offense. Form an offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in downtown Phoenix. Suns win 108-105 against Oklahoma City, the number 1 seed in basketball. Devin Booker had 24 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, and the last 3 points coming with a shot with 0.7 of a second left in the game to knock off OKC.
Trying to get the last shot, I knew a double was coming, so it was going to be hard to get in the paint, and just wanted to get it with the horn going off. Still didn't do that, but, we'll take it.
Jordan Goodwin had a career-high 26 points off the bench, and he single-handedly outscored Oklahoma City's bench as the Thunder reserves knocked in 23. Suns swept the weekend. They beat Sacramento 129-102 at home on Friday night. Booker had 33 points in that game. Up next, Suns are in Houston tonight. Tip-off, 6 o'clock. No Cardinals team has ever lost 14 games in a season until now. Cardinals took a 2016 lead late in the third and then got blown out. Rams win 37-20. Head coach Jonathan Gannon, what went wrong after you had the 4-point lead?
They scored a bunch of points and we didn't.
Thanks for the insight. How do you look back on the 2025 season?
Not a great one. A lot of adversity, but growth will happen.
Up next, Cardinals have the 3rd pick in the 2026 draft as they finished in a 4-way tie with the worst record in football. The number 1 team in the country is still undefeated. UofA knocked off Utah on the road to start the Big 12 season, 97-78. Toby Owaka came off the bench and was the leading scorer, 18 points, 12 boards. Head coach Tommy Lloyd.
We've been really focusing on kind of just, it's a new year. You're starting a conference season 0-0, so let's treat it as such. Let's be excited to play. I thought our guys did that. I thought we came out in the game and we really had great early effort, early energy, and we were able to kind of build a little bit of a cushion and play off it.
Up next, UofA hosts K-State Wednesday night. UofA football loser 24-19 to SMU in the Holiday Bowl. Fafita went 28 of 43 for 265 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick on a tipped ball. Head coach Brent Brennan.
I really do want to take a moment as I'm sitting here looking at Noah and just talk about how special this team was. And I think it's worth noting that Team 122 here at the University of Arizona is one of 8 teams in the history of our program to win 9 games.
Up next, the Wildcats host NAU on September 5th. Now it's ASU's turn. They're on a 3-game losing streak. Colorado came to Tempe Saturday and won 95-89. Why? Free throw. Colorado hit 32 of them. Head coach Bobby Hurley didn't have much of an opening statement in the press conference.
They're a good team. Tad does a good job. He's done a good job ever since I coached against them all this time. So hats off to Colorado. They outplayed us, and they're the winner. Questions?
Up next, Devils travel to Provo to take on number 10 BYU Wednesday night. And in the interest of equal time, we'll go back to last week. ASU a loser in the Sun Bowl, 42-39 to Duke. Jeff Sims went 27 of 38 for 375 yards, 3 touchdowns in the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground. But his last pass as a Devil was an interception, one of 3 Sun Devil turnovers. Head coach Kenny Dillingham.
Losing sucks. You're not going to win many games when you lose the turnover battle like that. Yeah, obviously the stats. 619 yards of offense, and defensively we played well in the biggest moments. We got to stop when it was needed, and that's a big piece of defense. They just made one more play than us. They're the champions of their conference for a reason.
Up next, Devils are home against Morgan State Saturday, September 5th. And finally, meet Marcus Baker, a 60-year-old Floridian who's retired, parked in a fire lane at a grocery store while he was getting a ticket from a sheriff's volunteer. He threatened the well-being of the 75-year-old man. Now, I said Baker was retired. What did he retire from? As a sheriff's deputy. Yes, he was a former deputy in the sheriff's department. And since it happened in the famous jurisdiction of Grady Judd, the Polk County, Florida sheriff, who loves to go on Facebook and tell everybody about all the criminals that he's captured. Take it away, Sheriff.
I want to introduce you to someone, Marcus Baker. He's 60. He was a deputy sheriff for 10 years. Then he went to work as a police officer for Lakeland, and he worked there until 2021. You know, we expect our police officers and deputies to set a proper example, but he set the wrong example. Just this last Tuesday, he parked in a fire lane, went into Publix on 540A to do his shopping, clearly violating the law. One of our volunteer sheriff service officers, 75 years old, he's a volunteer, noticed that there's this vehicle parked in the fire lane. So while he's preparing to write a traffic citation, Marcus comes out. Our VSSO asks for his driver's license. He initially refuses and then gives his driver's license to the VSSO, where the citation's issued. Guess what? He threatened to kick the 75-year-old volunteer sheriff service officer's butt, or used some other words, maybe. So our volunteer called a deputy, and the deputy came to do the investigation. By this time, Marcus has got his ticket and left. We determined that he threatened a public official. So we went to his house and we arrested him. So think about that. He started at the sheriff's office, then he went to the Lakeland Police Department, then he retired, and now he's back at the sheriff's office in the county jail as an inmate. Shame on you, Marcus.
Hey guys, it's No Name Henry. Just so you know, we're down here at Bell's, and while they're known for their chicken sandwich, I gotta let you know their burgers are the best in town. And also go, even though Doug makes fun of me, their sweet potato fries are delicious. You gotta get them, and great combo. Always, always great, never disappointed.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
I'm literally struggling remembering how to put all of this together. I mean, it feels like it's been forever since you and I talked. And what's so strange is this is not riding a bike. Wait, what does this button do? What does that button do? I don't really know what I'm doing. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, UofA, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? I'm doing very strangely. It's the only way I can put it. I don't know how to explain. I am so much better off from a rest standpoint, and yet it's almost like the way I've been living for the last 5 years. You fall out of habit so quickly. Like the body is demanding to go to bed at a normal time. And all of a sudden now I'm telling my body, okay, those last few weeks where you got to have some fun, yeah, that's over. Get back to normal, whatever my normal is. And the body is not enjoying being up this late right now, I can tell you. And then, of course, doing 12 News last night, I didn't get home until midnight. So the podcast is way late for when I want to get it done. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. Well, I missed you. Thanks for letting me have so much time off. I never anticipated taking off a whole 2 weeks. That was not in the cards, but oh my gosh, I had a good time. I had a good time. Let me go back for those of you that weren't a part of it. I could not imagine our road show at Bell's going any better than it did. Could not imagine. It was I don't know why I called it a road show because we didn't do the show, but the holiday event, the final total came up over 60 people. I forget what the number was. I had it written down somewhere, but we had over 60 people. Best showing that we've ever had. I was actually thinking it was going to be even bigger. There were a couple people that asked for special pardons, and I did grant those special pardons. And then there were a couple people that I thought were going to travel in from out of town that weren't able to come and make it. But so I even thought there was a chance that we'd be around 80 or 85. But to be over 60 people, and gosh, I had such a great time. I hope those of you that were able to make it out had as good of a time as I had. So that was wonderful. The only negative was evil arch rival Zach actually won one of the 2 Whirlwind Plus memberships for 2026. That was a shocker. And then Dr. Tim winning the brewery tour. Hopefully he's got that all set up, or if you haven't done that, reach out to me and make sure that I can get everything going on that, because I think I've sent the email out, but I'm not entirely sure if I did my job, to be quite honest, because we were so busy as a family. We decided to go to Ohio, so we went quote unquote home for Christmas, and I had a very, very odd time in Ohio, to be honest with you about it, because I was waiting for family drama. I was waiting for, you're just always on edge on what's going to happen when you go home. And from a people standpoint, we had a fantastic time. But from a weather standpoint, it was so weird. The weather was damp and gray every day, but it wasn't that cold. And it was certainly warm by Ohio standards. It was 50 degrees almost every day until the day that we left. The day we left was 20 degrees, and it was so bitterly cold, it actually made us angry. Everybody except the oldest. The oldest, Vienna, thinks it's fun. I was just angry, and we had to sit on the plane forever. We sat on the plane, I don't think I'm lying to say, for an hour. And so it was already delayed about 45 minutes, and then we sat on the plane for an hour. So that totally wrecked me doing a show at the beginning of last week. So, I intended on just taking off the week and then doing a couple shows between Christmas and New Year's, probably not New Year's Day, but I was going to do a show. I was thinking Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday were the days I was thinking of doing shows last week. Well, Tuesday, we got in so late Monday that I couldn't do a show Tuesday. All right, no big deal. So McKenna and I golf. Intern McKenna and I went golfing on Tuesday because I knew she was going back to school soon. Wasn't going to see her much. Okay, so we're going to go golf, and then I'm going to work all day Tuesday, the rest of the day, and do a show on Wednesday, especially leading into the Sun Bowl. Then I get a text from a friend, and we'll call him Big John. And Big John texts me and says, "Hey, I've got 2 tickets if you're interested in going to the Sun Bowl." I'm like, well, I wasn't, but okay, I'll ask. So I asked intern McKenna, since it's her senior year at ASU, do you want to go to the bowl game? She said yes. Now, it's supposed to be a 6-hour, 45-minute drive from Goodyear to Sun Bowl Stadium. And what was so kind was Joe Healy, Tim's son, who's on the Speak of the Devil podcast. He was the one that had the tickets through somebody else, so they weren't even his. So through 3 different hands, they sent us the tickets. And then once I had the tickets, I was like, I'm stuck. I'm going now. So intern McKenna and I got up, and we left the house a little after 5:00, and we got to the Sun Bowl at about 20 minutes before kickoff. I mean, inside. We had parked, we got inside, watched the whole game together, had amazing seats. And I got to tell you, like, until the game ended with the Cardinals on yesterday, and until Booker hit the shot last night, this was actually going to be Doug's big one. But other things have taken over for Doug's big one. But Doug's big one was going to be, we need to do more for the Rate Bowl. And I'm serious. And maybe even more for the Fiesta Bowl as a community. Because the El Paso people, and I don't know what you call them, El Pasoians, El Pasans, I don't know what you call people from El Paso. El Pasoites? But whatever they are, they were unbelievable. The human beings. First of all, there was about 50,000 people at the game. Really good showing by ASU fans. Not much of a showing from Duke, but a fantastic showing from the city of El Paso. So our seats are row 70. I didn't realize how big. I've been in that building before, but I was on the field. I was sitting in the stands, and I couldn't believe there were 70 rows. So we got there, and there's this huge opening of people. Like, I don't know, there were people from row 30 down and row 50 up. But there was this huge conglomerate of empty seats. So McKenna and I just said, well, we're not climbing up anymore. And we just sat in about row 50, row 55, whatever that was. So we're sitting there. And then an incredibly large Hispanic family comes and sits down beside us. And almost instantaneously becomes our friends. Young guy named Robert introduces himself and says, I see that you're Sun Devil fans. Do you guys live here in El Paso? And I said, no. Oh, did you come over from Arizona? Yeah, we did. Oh, hey, welcome to El Paso. Do you want a beer? And I was like, wow, this guy's my friend. But he only had yellow beer, and I didn't see any dark beer that was there. And I drove. So with McKenna and I, driving, we didn't stay at a hotel. So we drove, went to the game, boom, drove home. So I didn't want to get going on any beer because I knew I needed to stay focused, stay awake. So I said, no, thank you. And then they just started asking us questions. We were talking back and forth. He wanted us in the family pictures. And then we started talking about baseball. And he goes, oh, no, now my dad won't stop. And his dad showed me his high school yearbook picture of his baseball team. The dad is probably 8 years older than me, 10 years older than me, something like that. And he showed me his teammate, Greg Maddux. His dad grew up in Vegas and was a high school teammate of Greg Maddux. So now I'm looking at yearbook photos of dad. Robert's talking about ASU, and then we start talking about El Paso places to go out to dinner. And they start telling me about the Mexican restaurants that are delicious and a steak place. And then Robert's brother, Bo, I think was his name. Bo says, we also got Whataburger. You want to, if you're driving back tonight, you stop at Whataburger. And I was like, Whataburger as in the fast food chain, like Whataburger, like regular Whataburger. Yeah. You don't have those in Arizona, do you? I said, yeah, we got Whataburger. Oh, I thought that would be a big treat since you only have In-N-Out. And he was fired up about that. And I'm kind of laughing because I do really like In-N-Out. I do. I would never stand in line for it like In-N-Out people do. I don't like lines, but you're going to rip me. I like the Baconator and the chicken sandwiches of Wendy's and the chicken sandwich of Popeyes that I'm kind of like, I'm good. I don't, Whataburger's never really made it up my list. I've had Whataburger before. It's a burger. It's all right. I don't jump up and down for it, but it was funny the way this guy was all gung-ho about Whataburger. And no, I'll be all right. Okay. But these people were so nice to me, and it just got me thinking. I've never once had any desire to buy tickets to the Rate Bowl, which is, I don't know if you know this, the Fiesta Bowl puts on 2 bowl games. So really it was the one that's been called the Cactus Bowl forever. Never in my life have I been interested in buying tickets to the Cactus Bowl. And I just sat there thinking, these guys from El Paso, they're only here to support the bowl game. They're only here to be appreciative that there's a bowl game in El Paso that's on national television, and they want to make sure it looks good. And point blank, I don't think we have that civic pride for Phoenix. There's too many sporting events I've been to, which are really cool events, that not only don't sell out, they don't sell enough tickets to even look good on television. And it really struck me the way I was treated by those people from El Paso and how honored they were that I came to their city. And imagine somebody leaving the Rate Bowl and saying, man, that was so awesome to come to Phoenix. The people were so good to us, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. What do you think? I don't want to ask you to buy something you can't afford, but maybe next year we all think about having an Unplugged Army event at the Rate Bowl, and maybe I'll try to get us like a discount on tickets or something like that. But that kind of was a wake up to me. That would have been, like I said, that would have been Doug's big one if it wasn't for so many other things that happened. But that was interesting. So that wiped me out. That drive on Wednesday into Thursday was tough for me to recover from. And then Thursday, I thought, okay, I'll do a big show, breakdown going into the weekend for Friday. So I was going to do the show Thursday night, New Year's night. And I don't have an excuse. I just couldn't get everything done because I didn't want to go on air until I had watched all the Suns games, until I had watched all the Cardinals games, all the ASU hoops, UofA hoops, and I wanted to watch all of the bowl games that I was going to talk about in breakdown, and I hadn't finished that project, and I felt like I don't want to go on air. Now, this is where you and I need to have a conversation. Would you have rather me? So, Doug, don't give me a Friday when I think you're going to be on, and I don't get my beer Friday with you, and you would have rather me just skip the stuff I didn't know and told you what I did know, or you feel like, yeah, that makes pretty good sense. If you're not prepared, you're not prepared. It's kind of a weird question, but that's what happened to me for Friday's show and why you didn't get a show on Friday. So sorry about that. Usually when I screw up, I have great lessons that I've learned, and I wouldn't really say I learned anything on this one, because if I wouldn't have spent so much time with McKenna, I would have easily been able to fulfill everything that I wanted to do last week. But I just decided I'm going to be dad in her last year before that's the type of kid that's going to move away, and we'll see her, 5 times a year or something like that. So I thought, let's take advantage of this while we can. So that's why I did that. So thanks for your understanding and giving me the time off. And you can probably hear the energy in my voice and the way I'm flying around, being able to get back at it. But there's going to be a lot of mistakes today. I can just tell you, as I'm kind of feeling my way back through on how to take care of everything. All right, if you're ready, time for Doug's big one. It's my number one opinion of the day. Let's roll. Doug.
Where's Doug? Here, sorry, Doug. Where you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug right there? That was smooth.
Well, I can only answer the questions that get asked of me, Doug.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's big one. We will never know what they actually say. But if I am Michael Bidwill, number one, I'm going to treat people a lot better. That's a cheap shot. Sorry. It's true, but that was rude. If I'm Michael Bidwill with a major decision like the future of Jonathan Gannon that I've got to make, in a sense, today or this morning, for the famous Black Monday of football coaches, I'm going to talk to Calais Campbell and Jacoby Brissett. And they're going to have a major voice in whether or not I keep Jonathan Gannon. And that's Doug's big one. Now, let me explain why I'm saying that's my number one opinion of the day, because I'm rarely the one that believes you talk to players about a decision like that. I understand if you're going to trade for a player for the Suns, you're going to ask Book or let Book know, hey, this is what we're thinking of doing here. Do you have any reservations with this guy? Anything we should know about before we do? You're going to do some of those things, and I get it. Of course, you're going to talk to one of your players if he ever had a teammate that you're about to trade for. Okay, stuff like that. But to talk to a player about firing a coach, I think is one of those things that you should almost never do. But I would make an exception in this case. Let me give you this list and tell me if there are some names on here that reasonably impress you. Ken Whisenhunt, Bruce Arians, Doug Marrone, John Harbaugh, Arthur Smith, Mike McDaniel, Bill Belichick, Chuck Pagano, Frank Reich, Brian Flores, Kevin Stefanski, Ron Rivera, Gerard Mayo. That's a list of the coaches that Calais Campbell and Jacoby Brissett has played for. I mean, wow. That's 9, 10, 11, I would say 12, 13. I think that's 13 Super Bowls as a head coach between those coaches. And I'm not even counting, because I don't even know how many it is that Ken Whisenhunt and Bruce Arians went to as assistants. I don't have any idea how many John Harbaugh went to as an assistant with the Eagles. I don't think any. Mike McDaniel went to one with the 49ers. And I know Ron Rivera, I think, I know that he went to one as a coach, as a head coach, and I think he went to two as an assistant. I'd have to look that up. So I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, wow, these two have really seen some great coaches, and they've really seen some coaches that are just not very good. Think about it. Bill Belichick and John Harbaugh, the two best coaches that Brissett and Calais have ever seen. Brissett, his rookie year was with New England and Bill Belichick. And Calais played for John Harbaugh. He played for Baltimore for 3 years. So you've got that end of the spectrum. I think Chuck Pagano is a good coach. I think Bruce Arians is a good coach. I actually think Ken Whisenhunt is an incredible coordinator. As a head coach, he should be a great head coach. The problem is he really gets so absorbed into minutia. Instead of just leading as head coach, he cares too much about all of these other things. Like his wife used to, I probably shouldn't say this story, but his wife used to listen to Doug and Wolf and take notes. And then she would sit and watch the press conferences, the post-game press conferences, to kind of monitor the media, to get to know who's asking what questions and make decisions on who can be trusted. It was very strange that the wife was that involved, and that's just who they were. They're just kind of a paranoid couple at the time. I don't know if they grew out of it. I don't know if they changed, but it was a strange situation. But if Coach Whisenhunt would have just focused on wins, just win the game, just focus on that stuff instead of all of these other things that they thought was going to contribute to winning and losing, they wouldn't have been so distracted, and I think Coach Whisenhunt would have had an even better career. But you have those two, those great names, those good names and great names in the sense of Belichick and Harbaugh. I think Brian Flores is a really good coach. Ron Rivera is a good coach. And then you look at some of the rough ones. Gerard Mayo, not good. Mike McDaniel, at least at this point in his career, not good. Arthur Smith, maybe not ready. I don't know. they really have seen what the good coaches did that were successful, great coaches, the good coaches, and the bad coaches. And then say point blank, what do you think of Jonathan Gannon? I think you're going to get an insight from them that is so powerful, it'll push you one way or the other. And I would never tell a soul I did it. And the reason why is you don't want Jonathan Gannon blaming them. You don't want those two players ever being associated with getting a coach fired if they say, yeah, he should be fired. Imagine how bad it would be if Jacoby Brissett said he should be fired and they don't do it. You can't let that out. But if I'm Michael Bidwill, I'm talking to those two. And maybe even last night before I make my final decision on the future of Jonathan Gannon. For me, I'm gonna bring him back. I know that that's not a popular opinion. It's really, you're probably hoping, hey, I listened to you, so you say the things that I wish someone would say, and you're kind of excited to have me lead the charge when this is kind of a town of soft media, and you might think, well, now I'm being soft because I don't think Jonathan Gannon should be fired. I thought they were bad, okay? 9 losses to end the season. I get your frustration. I get everything you're saying, but I can't get over one thing. What do you expect him to do with a roster of 5th string players? Like how did you think that should go? The concerns are, I don't think Will Johnson developed as well as I would like to have seen him develop. I really believed in that pick. No way am I labeling him as a bust, but there was a play yesterday against the Rams when I'm just shaking my head of, it was a 2nd and 10 in front of the Rams bench, and he's with Puka Nacua, and there's a little bit of a forced rollout from Stafford, and then Stafford throws it right to the sticks. And I'm thinking, okay, Will, what kind of coverage are you in when you are 6 yards away from Puka Nacua? Like, there's no way that was coached for you to do that. So was that out of sheer fear? It wasn't like you were faked out by a route or something, because it wasn't a timing situation where Stafford 1, 2, 3, boom, balls out on a comeback. It was Nacua ran a route, sat down in the zone, waited a couple seconds, Stafford found him and threw it to him. I don't get that. That was bad. And I look at a Jonathan Gannon and I think there's no way that was coached. There's no way he was taught, that Will Johnson was taught, okay, in this situation, we're going to do this. So why isn't that corrected enough? Or where is the confidence that Will Johnson says, I can play this game, I'm going to shut this play down, whatever. There's a lot of things like that. I've went over it ad nauseum, the horrible decisions of Drew Petzing in that Titans game, which they're almost fireable for me. But no, I look at the numbers that the team put up offensively once they had a quarterback that could read defenses and say things got better. The problem is they didn't actually score points to the level that you need to, but the yardage was there. So there's enough there that I say you were able to keep going and guys kept fighting hard with 4th string players. So I want to see what you can do with a full roster. I actually think we should be staring down Monty Ossenfort a lot more than we are. I would say so far he's right, 25% of his first round picks. I don't think that's a high enough percentage. You got Paris Johnson right. Marvin Harrison Jr., in my opinion, has played okay for like a 4th or 5th round pick, but nowhere near good enough for a first-round pick, let alone number 4 overall. And then Robinson, been hurt or not done much. And then there's Walter Nolan. Showed a flash every now and then, but what are you playing, 4 games? Like, that's not good enough. And I wouldn't be so hard on it when there's 2 injuries if it wasn't for the fact that you and I discussed who were much better options going into the draft and coming immediately after the draft. So I look at Jonathan Gannon and kind of go, what do you expect? Like, how do you expect it to be better? Unless you're just angry. And you can't just fire people because you're mad. Because that's what Michael Bidwill does. That's not how you win. You win with stability. And so I'm not standing on the table trying to sell you on the fact that Jonathan Gannon is a great coach. But I totally believe he's better at this stage of his life than whoever Michael Bidwill would be hiring if he fired Jonathan Gannon. Now let's move into a different subject. And that is Michael Bidwill himself. Michael Bidwill, when he fired Steve Wilkes, said something very interesting. Said that he talked to Steve, and Steve's plan going forward wasn't one that Michael could get behind, so he decided to let him go. Between you and I don't believe him. I think Michael Bidwill is mostly lying on that. I think he had the decision made that he was going to fire him well before that. The players really didn't like Steve Wilkes. They were revolting against his discipline. They had problems with him. And it was also, they wanted to move on from Josh Rosen. They figured that was a bust. And I think they wanted an electric offensive coach to pair with the number 1 pick in Kyler Murray. I think it was all a lie when they said, we don't know who we're going to draft, and we signed Cliff Kingsbury because he had the best plan for Josh Rosen going forward. Remember, that's the things that they said. Isn't it interesting when you think about the integrity of the Cardinals and the last 2 coaching hirings? They said that Steve Wilkes wasn't the guy because his plan going forward after year 1 wasn't good enough. Not because they lost games, but his plan going forward wasn't good enough. That means they didn't plan on firing him until that meeting. I don't believe that. Then you have them say, we hired Cliff Kingsbury because he had the best plan for Josh Rosen going forward. And then Steve Keim famously saying, I didn't want to like Kyler Murray, but when I turned on the tape, we wanted him. Okay, so you really did draft him not realizing he was going to fit the offense for Cliff Kingsbury. Come on. Then you find out you're wrong on that. You fire Cliff Kingsbury, and then you actually get charged with tampering/cheating, and you have to pay a draft penalty for the Philadelphia Eagles in how you contacted Jonathan Gannon. Okay. So this doesn't seem like an organization that really is letting the public know, or even the league know, in ways that are, we would consider scrupulous, whatever that word means. So I'm looking at where you are now as an organization. And I acknowledge this is rock and hard play stuff. I acknowledge Jonathan Gannon hasn't done enough. But for you to convince me, if you want to bring this up for tomorrow's Town Hall Tuesday, for you to convince me it's time to fire Jonathan Gannon, you've got to convince me that there's a coach out there that Michael Bidwill will hire and can actually get, and will support the organization with the financial backing to win, then I would be on board with firing Jonathan Gannon. But look at the people that he hires. Ken Wisenhunt, first-year head coach. Bruce Arians, first-year head coach. Steve Wilkes, first-year head coach. Cliff Kingsbury, first-year head coach. And now Jonathan Gannon, first-year head coach. They're less expensive. And since you're the first one to give them their opportunity, they're more easily controlled. That, to me, is the MO of Michael Bidwill. Well, if that's the MO, I'm not going to trust him for the next hire. I'm not going to believe that he's going to be able to get it done. What do you think? I'll talk about the game in just a second. Really thrilled. I got an email while I was off from a listener that said they were an old school 4 o'clock club member, meaning they've been listening to Doug and Wolf back when we were on from 5 to 9 in the morning. And Paul Calvisi used to come on, and the first update he would do would talk about people that were listening to the hour before. He's been that hardcore of a listener to Doug and Wolf, and he's actually a big believer in Unplugged. Listens almost every morning. And he let me know that he thinks he's ready for a Ford truck. And he knows exactly where to go to get it. Santan Ford. Now, I want to tell you how easy it is. You email me, Doug@DougFranzUnplugged.com. I connect you with a person in charge of our friends and family rate. And then you save a great deal on a car or truck or SUV, even more so than the low prices that you already get at Santan Ford. And I can guarantee you, you'll be blown away. Every single person I have ever sent to Santan Ford has written me a letter saying it was the best experience they've had. Not a letter, but like an email or a note, or they told me about it verbally. Think about that. That's an incredible track record. And I know it'll be the same for you. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. I want to play this for you. This is an interesting back and forth with Teo Mackey of America's reporter of the Arizona Republic, in which he asked questions to Jonathan Gannon about his future and about decisions going forward.
Well, when you have a year like this with a lot of adversity, and I always say, you get hit on the chin and get knocked down, you can stay down or get up. So we'll get up.
When you say you'll get up, well, why do you expect that to be kind of different after the season, going into the season, and kind of throughout this last 9 weeks?
Well, you just look at it from a totality. You get a chance to now step back. You're not in game mode. And, there's change has to come. You know what I mean, Teo? There's no doubt. Adversity forces growth and change.
Do you expect there to be significant changes?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I do. With me first.
What do you mean?
I have to grow and do a better job of coaching this football team. That's evident.
Do you know yet whether you plan to retain both coordinators?
Yeah, I'm not getting into that.
So it starts with him talking about there's got to be significant change because of the results. And number one, the reason why I like Teo Mackey, he's still got a long way to go in football knowledge, but he's working really hard at it. Now, I've never had a beer with the guy, but I could just tell by the way he asked some questions, there's holes in the football knowledge. But when you read some of his follow-up articles on a Tuesday or a Wednesday during the week in the Arizona Republic, you can tell he's got help. He's contacted people in the industry that really know the game, and they're pointing things out to him, and he's writing very, very well. So I'm a big fan. What impresses me the most about Mackey is in these press conferences, when Jonathan Gannon kind of goes into coach speak of, we're going to get back up. We're going to get back up. He drills down and asks, well, why do you believe it's going to be better? I mean, you just lost 9 games in a row. Now, he doesn't say it like a jerk, But it's simple. Why do you believe you're going to get back up? Why do you believe it's going to be better? And Jonathan Gannon says significant change. And then he kind of got cute, starts with me. I got to coach better. I got to do this. Okay. And then at the end, he was asked the question, do you know yet whether or not you're going to make changes at coordinator? And Jonathan Gannon said, I'm not going to get into that yet.
Do you know yet whether you plan to retain both coordinators?
Yeah, I'm not getting into that.
There's no way to know how that was meant, but we can take it in a lot of different directions. If it was a 100% guarantee that he wasn't going to make a change of coordinator, why would not he have said it? Is that weird? Why wouldn't he have said it? Yeah, I guess why would not? Yeah, it was just weird to say that. Why wouldn't he say it right there? Like right there. So I'm not going to make a change of coordinator. So does that mean you don't know? Does that mean you've made the decision that you are going to fire Drew Petzing? Is it a case where you've already had the conversation with Michael Bidwill? Because if you remember, when Arizona was the focus of the, I think it was Amazon series, in which it was Hard Knocks during the year, there would be a meeting every Monday with Ken Wisenhunt, Steve Keim, Mark Dalton, and Michael Bidwill. And for a time, I believe Terry McDonough was in that grouping. I think so. And then eventually, when with Terry McDonough standing up, I shouldn't say that. I don't remember whether that was ever a part of that show. So let me skip over that. Scratch that from the record, any mention of Terry McDonough's name. But they did show constantly Cliff Kingsbury, Mark Dalton. Cliff, the head coach, Mark Dalton is the vice president of communications. So Mark is basically the number one media relations guy, and kind of runs things with an iron fist, to be quite honest, and for better or for worse. And Michael Bidwill, the owner, and then Steve Keim, the GM. So you can bet that there's meetings going on every Monday with Monty Ossenfort and the head coach and Mark Dalton. And Mark is very good at anticipating some of the things the media might say and bringing it up. So I could see a scenario where it was brought up that they told Jonathan Gannon, do not engage in questions about your coordinators. Quit saying that you know you're not going to make a change, or just say you're not going to get into it, or we're going to save that for later. We're going to evaluate at the end of the season. Say something along those lines. Because this is the same guy that said all year long, I've got great confidence in my coordinators. They're not the problem. And yet now you're saying you're not going to get into it. Well, why not? The other thing that's interesting is there going to be an ultimatum. Is Jonathan Gannon making the decision that Drew Petzing should not be the offensive coordinator anymore? Or is it more of a case where the owner is saying, if you want to stay, you will be firing Drew Petzing? And then it's going to be, well, what is it that he did? Because if you fire Drew Petzing on the owner's behalf, well, then you're going to lose a lot of credibility with the rest of your assistants, because then you're in a sense throwing somebody over the, under the bus to save your skin. You could be fired together, but no, I'm going to keep my job and fire you. If it's the owner's decision, that's what you're doing. You're saving your job by firing him. Doesn't mean the owner doesn't have a right to say his opinion or anything. If Michael Bidwill wants Drew Petzing fired, it's his team. But what if the head coach doesn't? Should the head coach stand up for it? I think he should. And then find out whether or not he goes too. But I think that's really an interesting thing, that you didn't have Jonathan Gannon stand up for his coordinators. So that's going to be the first thing you're going to want to look at throughout the day today when you're checking Twitter, checking social media, is to see if there's an announcement on coordinators based on that comment. And I think that was one of those where that's going to be a major conversation today between Jonathan Gannon and Michael Bidwill. And then it's a league mandate. You always have to have a press conference with the head coach the day after a game. It doesn't matter that it's the last game. So Jonathan Gannon will speak to the media. Doesn't mean he's going to be real clear, but he will speak to the media today. All right, coming up next, we should all be jacked up after what happened last night with the Suns knocking off OKC. That's coming up on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Going to be hard to keep up with this list, but from Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical, we have a reverse osmosis system, a tankless water heater, and 2 air scrubbers that actually remove pollens and germs from the air that we breathe in our home. So what does Parker & Sons do? They only handle the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, and they do a great job. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
It's big, it's juicy, it's meaty. Get your burrito at Burrito Express. If you're having a hangover, a bad day, even a good day, still get your burrito at Burrito Express. It will make you feel better.
Oh my gosh, what a game last night. Suns win. Suns win. I gotta say it like that. Love you, Al. So while I was gone, if you want a quick run through of all of the action for the Suns, it was pretty phenomenal. They split a series with Golden State. So the Friday night, maybe it was Saturday night, of the holiday event at Bells, Golden State won that one 119-116, despite Booker having 38 points. But Booker went 2 of 7 from 3. Not very good. Then they crushed the Lakers 132-108. Positive, one of my favorite stats in basketball, assist to turnover ratio. How many assists do you have versus turnovers compared to the other team? If you have a lot of assists and a low amount of turnovers, that means the ball movement is fantastic. You're tiring out their defense. And if you have low assists or high turnovers, it shows you're not sharing the ball. Lakers had 22 assists, 17 turnovers. That's really bad. Suns had 35 assists, 13 turnovers. Excellent. However, Booker 0 for 2 from 3. Then the Suns beat up on New Orleans 115-108, and then beat them again the next night 123-114. Booker had 50 points combined in those games, still didn't shoot great from 3. Suns beat Washington then 115-101. Had a lot to do with rebounding. 51 rebounds to 43 for Washington. And Connor Gillespie going 10 of 14 from the field was really good. Then they played Cleveland. They lost 129-113 at Cleveland. You're going to laugh at me for one of the reasons. I think the number one reason why they lost is they were just exhausted. It was the end of a 5-game road trip. It was basically coast to coast as they went from Golden State back home to New Orleans, then to Washington, then up to Cleveland. And they looked like they were playing hard, but playing slow. If you've ever had a day where you just feel groggy, like you just can't get out of your own way, that's what the Suns looked like in this game. They shot 40% from the field. Cleveland shot 50% from the field. And Donovan Mitchell had a great game. 34 points, 10 boards, 7 assists. Crap happens. You lost to a playoff team on the road at the end of a road trip. Turn around and come right back. Beat Sacramento bad, 129-102. And again, Booker, 33 points, great. But only 1 of 6 from 3 last Friday. Then yesterday, Booker goes for 24. Still wasn't lighting it up. But 9 assists, 6 rebounds. It's really what gets me so excited, because right now the Suns are only 2 games out of the 3 seed in the playoffs. They would be in the play-in tournament, but they would be the 7 seed, and they're almost up to the 6 seed right now, which avoids the play-in tournament. They've done so well. There's so many positive things. But I'm actually going to say this as a positive. What gets me jacked up the most is they're doing all of this with Booker in a 3-point shooting slump. Imagine how much better they're going to be when they get Grayson Allen, when they get Jalen Green, and Booker starts hitting threes again. There's still so much room for growth as good as they're playing. And oh, by the way, they just knocked off the number 1 seed in OKC. And last month, although they did get blown up by OKC in 1 game last month, they also faced OKC and took them to overtime in their house. This is crazy good stuff from the Suns. Here's Jordan Knott.
It was another one of those nights where we didn't have to say much. We just brought it in, obviously with the back-to-back coming, but yeah, those games that end up like that, there's so much emotion in the game. You're walking off the court, just kind of piece together play by play exactly what happened. So a lot of joy in that locker room. It's just great overall team win.
Definitely a team win, although you needed to have Booker hit that last shot, and he did so. Goes through with 0.7 of a second left. They do give up a wide open 3 from the corner. Suns got lucky this game didn't go into overtime, where they probably would have lost in the overtime. But Booker got it done despite his shooting woes. And it's something to talk about. Great question by David Brand of the Associated Press, who said, you're in a 3-point shooting slump, yet you drain that shot. I mean, how are you staying locked in on that feeling? By the way, if you didn't know this, Devin Booker's 164th in 3-point shooting. It's a little bit of a skewed stat because there's a couple people, like Grayson Allen's ahead of him, and Grayson's only played 17 games this year. So there are some guys that probably don't have the shots or the minutes played to all be included. But still, just to say that, let me say that again. Devin Booker is in 164th place in 3-point shooting. Yet, Book, how are you keeping it together? Because that 3 looked totally pure that you hit to win it in regulation.
It's tough. It's a mental game. I've went through stretches like this before, probably not to this extent. So it's frustrating, especially when you put the reps in practice and you make all of them, and you go out there and you still miss. So it's all mental in this game. So, hopefully this can be the turning point and, get that out of my head and, make the shots that I shoot.
What I love about that is there wasn't sugarcoating. Yes, I've struggled, but so many players lie to themselves. They don't want to admit it, and I think that shows that they can't come out of it until you admit it. And he says, yeah, this stinks. It stinks that I'm in a shooting slump. But then he comes back with, it's mental. I'll get out of it. I love it that there's nothing wrong with the confidence that you can rebound from it when you've done it in the past. I don't like it when I hear it from Jonathan Gannon. Oh, we'll get back up. We'll get back up. Well, you lost 9 in a row. I mean, don't tell me you're going to get back up. Quit telling me all these positive things as if magic pixie dust is suddenly going to make it all better. Here's Booker acknowledging, I'm not getting it done in 3-point shooting, yet we're going to find a way to win anyway, and he's doing it. Man, that jacks me up. Jordan Goodwin had 26 points off the bench for the Suns. The Oklahoma City bench had 23 points. So Goodwin alone outscored the OKC bench. Here's Jordan Knott.
I'm not sure we win that one without Jordan Goodwin. Just the ball just found him, and book ends with 9 assists, but a lot of the corner threes that Goody got were because our superstar passes the basketball. And he passed it to the high quad, then swings it. So just the unselfishness of the group starts with your best player. He had 9 assists, but I'm sure, if you count the hockey assists, he's probably had 15. So Goody got to his spots. He works incredibly hard. So it's good to see him have a night like that.
If you're new to Doug Franz, I almost said Doug and Wolf. If you're new to Doug Franz Unplugged, I hope I don't insult you when I try to explain everything. You probably know exactly what Jordan Ott means when he says a hockey assist, but I want to make sure everybody does. So I explain just about everything. In hockey, there are the potential, not always, but the potential for 2 assists on a goal. If I pass it to you, you pass it to the shooter, and the shooter scores, you and I both get an assist. And the belief is because the defense had to react to my pass as well, and that's what opened up the shooter. Or if I pass it to you and you shoot, goalie makes the save, but with the score happens on the rebound, you can easily have us both get an assist because my pass to you set up the shot, which forced the save, but the bad rebound was punched back in. So you have 2 assists on occasion. In basketball, you only have 1 assist in the stat book. But analytics of basketball has adopted the hockey assist because it shows who's moving the ball full well knowing they won't get credit for it. And that is Jordan Ott saying that has a lot to do with why they won the game. Obviously, Goody was hitting the shot. But he's saying Booker had 9 assists that are documented. And he's given Booker credit for another 6 where he made the pass to the passer who got the assist. And a lot of times that was Goodwin on a corner 3 being able to benefit from that. That's huge. And it does say something when a guy of Devin Booker's status is such a willing passer.
Yeah, that's my MO. I think some people give me a hard time about that. But they have really good on-ball defenders and multiple of them too. So that's very rare for a team. And the times they put 2 on it, I try to get off it quick as possible. It's not always the assist pass. Sometimes it's pass and then one more. I think Goody got a lot of those in the corner tonight. So, we all believe in each other as a team. Everybody works on this team, and we believe in each other.
So Goodwin has a career night. He's never scored 26 points in an NBA game. He's never made 8 3-pointers in an NBA game. He does both. And when you hear him talk about it, you hear Jordan Ott already mentioning Goodwin's game, but he does it through the prism of what Booker did to contribute to it. Now you hear Booker say, yeah, that's my MO. I'm going to do what I think is the right basketball play. And now Goodwin is asked about feeling it and how hot he was, and where does he immediately turn his attention to?
Super blessed, especially to go out there, like you said, have a career night. Definitely confidence, feeling pretty good right now, but we about to get tested this week coming up. And I know we fighting for playoff position, so I'm just trying to stay level-headed and just keep on continuing to do what I'm doing.
All right. I butchered that. I guess I didn't pull what I thought I pulled. He had another quote where he talked about all the things that Booker does as a leader. But I like that quote, so I'm going to throw you a curveball now and pretend I meant to do that. But I did like that quote too, because here he's being asked about his career high. And he goes, yeah, it's cool, but he's already on to Houston. He's already thinking, I mean, who in their right mind gives the Suns a back-to-back of OKC and Houston? 2 teams that are competing for the Western Conference Championship, and yet the Suns have to play them on a back-to-back. And I don't know about you, but I've never driven over the Arizona-Texas border before. Like when you have a back-to-back and it's Knicks and Nets, Magic and Heat, Cleveland and Pistons. Something that makes sense. You know, I accept back-to-backs when you're doing Milwaukee and the Bulls. It's these ridiculous back-to-backs, Phoenix and now to Houston. I'm not acting like it's a 5-hour flight, but it's not next door either. And yet that's immediately where Goodwin's head is hey, that's what's next. I'm not going to sit here and focus on my 16 or my 26 points. I really do love that. I love that. And it brings up a point that I made last night on 12 News. If you weren't watching, I'll repeat it if you don't mind. And that is, we know Booker's number 1, and this year it's clear Brooks is number 2. But who's the number 3 guy? Remember when I went through that rundown of how the Suns did during the week or that I was gone? One day it was Mark Williams with 18 points, 9 rebounds. Then it was Mark Williams with 24 points, 13 rebounds. Then it was Gillespie with 25 points. And these are all the number 3 guys because Brooks has consistently been the number 2. And then now against OKC, here's Jordan Goodwin with 26. And Bouye has been a couple games where he's the guy that's clearly number 3. You never know who's the guy that's going to step up and be that third option offensively, but they almost always have one.
It's just the next man up mentality. We've been living by that. Obviously, we miss those guys out there, and, you know, some games, you know, I'll be like, man, if Grayson or Jalen was right there, you know, this defense wouldn't be happening. But still, like I said, all the way down the line, there's still some people that don't get in the game that, you know, can knock down those shots that I trust. So, you know, it's the NBA. We have a super talented group and a super confident group.
I am totally buying what they're selling. The one thing about this team, though, until Jalen Green gets back, he was given an evaluation that said he's trending very highly upward. They're going to reevaluate again in another 2 weeks. This is starting to be ridiculous. I don't understand a hamstring that injury that takes this long. But one thing I really hope they don't put him right back into the starting lineup as soon as he comes back. Why not? I'm not going to say make him earn his minutes, but make him go little by little because so many good things are happening with this team. Why upset the apple cart a little, even a little bit? I wouldn't just let him mosey back in and then ramp him up after the All-Star break. Yeah, we're already need to be thinking about that because the All-Star game's in a month. You know, really more like a month and a half. But if he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks, that's about 2 or 3 weeks of playing into the All-Star break, and then evaluate him through there, and then now he's ready to start. One thing about yesterday's game, Jordan Ott said this. He was asked a question by Kellen Olson of the old station, a really good question about, I should say a really good question, just a statement of some of the frustration that Kellen said he saw from Jordan Ott in the first half due to a lack of execution. And Jordan Ott said something really interesting about the first half. And in case you didn't see the game, Suns got beat up pretty good in the first quarter and didn't make up any ground in the second quarter, but kind of held it at neutral. So they're trailing at halftime.
I swear I thought we had good looks in the first half. Like, against this team, you got to shoot threes. We took 22 of them in the first half. I thought our shot quality was about as good as you can get against a really good defense. Second half, we definitely match up hunting a little bit more. But yeah, we'll definitely take a look. I thought overall, against the elite of the elite defenders, we were able to try to get an advantage. I thought a little bit like the turnovers. I think we had 6 in the second quarter. You just got to get a shot up. Try to get a shot up the best you can, because when they're stealing it from you, taking the other way, that really puts you in a bind. And you know, they only had 2 steals. That's part of our offense. Like, are we getting to an end? There's so many illegal screens at some of those points. I'm sure that's the turnovers. But yeah, we'll take a look. I thought overall our intent offensively was pretty good.
Here's why I really dive into that. just to give you the breakdown of what he was saying is we played well. I thought we played well in the first half. We didn't make shots. And he said, we had 6 turnovers. They only had 2 steals. That means we're throwing the ball away, or we had a lot of illegal screens, and those are all turnovers. An illegal screen is a turnover because you're on offense and now you lose the ball on the really all offensive fouls are. The reason why I like that so much is there's an art to this. You've heard of halftime adjustments since the beginning of time. One thing some coaches make the mistake of is not truly understanding what's going wrong. And then they adjust when they don't need to. If the Suns are getting good open looks, why make an adjustment? I mean, everybody automatically assumes, hey, you're down at halftime, you got to make an adjustment. It takes a good head coach to say, wait a minute. We're getting good shots. We're playing good basketball. It's just not going our way. At the same time, you've got to have a coach that's good enough to not be stubborn and say, hey, I made this game plan. I know it's going to work. But what hasn't been working? You've got to be able to correctly diagnose why it's not working. And if the answer is as simple, we're just not hitting shots and we're getting the looks we want, we're getting open availability, well then, keep doing it to a point. Now, if one of the main reasons why you're not making shots is because they keep getting the ball out of Booker's hands and other guys aren't hitting, well, then it's your job as a coach to get Booker shooting, to get Booker going, because the other guys aren't getting it done. But I really like that little tidbit there of, you know what, I really wasn't frustrated with the way the first half went. No, we didn't hit shots, but I liked the shots we took, and that meant he didn't make a lot of changes at halftime. And that's obviously a good thing, as the Suns won last night. And obviously only won by 3, but you're playing the best team in the league. And they win 108-105. Just really jacked up about yesterday. There's no way in the world I would expect them to win today. 3 games in 4 nights on the road, coming off of a young team winning against the number 1 seed. That usually spells disaster. And that'll come up as a conversation point on versus Vegas. And the next beautiful part of the podcast is going to be all ASU and UofA, but I thought I'd give you a little rundown on football playoffs in case you care and you want to plan your weekend. So one of the other opinions that would have been Doug's big one today that I thought about, I cannot stand the way the NFL organizes the playoffs in the way that they do the playoff seeding. Here's why I say that. I think whoever wins their division should go into the playoffs. Guaranteed. You win your division, you're guaranteed a playoff spot. I don't think you should be guaranteed a home game. The NFC South this year had a 3-way tie for first. The Carolina Panthers went 8-9. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went 8-9. And the Atlanta Falcons went 8-9. So overall, the Atlanta Falcons finished in 11th place in the NFC. Yet that's tied with the team that's in 4th place, or at least the 4 seed in the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers get a home game. The Panthers host the Rams. Explain that. Explain why a 12-5 Rams team is traveling to an 8-9 Carolina team. I totally reject that. I think that's just asinine that Carolina gets a home game. Again, I am not saying you shouldn't be in the playoffs. I actually believe, you might say, well, Doug, why do you think they should be in the playoffs at 8-9? I think division winners should be in the playoffs. I don't think division winners should get a playoff home game, but that's the rule. So your Saturday game, Rams at Carolina, and then Green Bay at Chicago. both of or that first game is the 4-5 matchup, Rams at Panthers. Bears and Packers are the 2-7 matchup. It is crazy. The Vikings actually amazingly ended up at 9-8 on the season. That means every team in the NFC North was above 500. Bears win the division at 11-6. Packers, because of that crazy tie with Dallas, finish at 9-7-1, 1/2 game ahead of Minnesota and Detroit. And the Vikings swept the Lions. So the Vikings are officially ahead of the Lions. However, it doesn't matter because they're both out of the playoffs at 9-8, 1/2 game behind the Packers. So the whole division finished above 500. So Bears and Packers on Saturday. On Sunday, Buffalo at Jacksonville. That is also that's a 3-6 game. How about that? The Bills went 12-5, but drop all the way to the 6th seed because they lost to the Texans this year, and the Texans finished 12-5. So head-to-head is used to balance out that tiebreaker. And Buffalo's the 6th seed. They go to Jacksonville, who ends up as the 3 seed. One game. Isn't it amazing? Jacksonville, 13-4. One game behind Denver and New England. Denver and New England were tied in the AFC at 14-3, but the Broncos get the 1 seed due to best win percentage in common games. How about that? They didn't face each other head-to-head. The next tiebreaker is conference record. Both teams are 9-3 in the AFC. The next tiebreaker is your record against common opponents. I haven't done the breakdown of it yet, but you almost always have at least 4 opponents that are the same. And then you look at your record against those 4, and you look at the other team's record against those 4, and that would have been the separation. So Broncos get the bye, and Buffalo and Jacksonville end up playing in the 3-6 game. Also on Saturday, San Francisco is at Philly. Eagles 11-6 have a weaker record than San Francisco, but again, Philadelphia is a division winner. So they get to host a playoff game. 49ers at 12-5 have to travel. And then the Chargers are at New England on Saturday. Patriots got the number 2 seed as a result of that tiebreaker I just talked about. Chargers are a pretty good bottom seed. They're the last team in the playoffs, and they went 11-6. That's pretty amazing. The AFC is pretty amazing that your worst playoff team didn't slip into the playoffs. They're 11-6. And then those are all Sunday. Hopefully I explained those right. Rams at Carolina, Green Bay at Chicago Saturday, Buffalo at Jacksonville, San Francisco at Philly, and Chargers at New England on Sunday. And then Texans at Pittsburgh. That's your 4-5 game on Monday Night Football to wrap up the AFC version. If you didn't see it last night, UofA's kicker Tyler Loop, who was actually drafted by the Ravens last year, misses about a 28-yard kick. Unbelievably easy kick. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but the kid choked. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Steelers score the go-ahead touchdown. They're going to kick an extra point to take a 3-point lead to therefore guarantee a field goal by Baltimore only sends it to overtime. And the Steelers miss the extra point. Ravens get the kickoff. Lamar Jackson marches them right down the field, 28-yard field goal. That's butter. And Tyler Loop misses it. The rookie kicker for Baltimore can't handle the pressure. I don't mind talking about this and saying the word choke. That kid choked. You put him out there in a 28 and ask him to kick 28-yard field goals in practice, he's not going to miss any. You ask him to kick them in normal regular season games, 28 yards, He probably goes 10 for 10 during the regular season. And even though yesterday counts as regular season, that's in a sense a postseason because the loser's out. Whoever won that game's winning the AFC North. Whoever loses that game is out. So that was a playoff game. So that's a choke. And as long as we're talking about it within the sports context, I don't care about being really hard on Tyler Loop. Do your job, blah, blah, blah. Say it. What I really feel bad for is the yahoos. You know full well Loop, it is any social media outlet, it's going to be lit up. Everybody that bet on the Ravens is going to light this kid up. Everybody that's a nut job fan that doesn't have the class to understand these are human beings, they're going to go after him. And when I say that, I mean in ways that are just so unfair and gutless. I mean, we're talking, he's going to get death threats. He's going to get horrible statements where people are wishing horrible things upon him. And that's what's just so disgusting that now, when I was younger, I used to be ready to go on warpaths as a talk show host to talk about the failure of not meeting expectations. And now I look at what he's going to be subject to in society, and it's just embarrassing. That's the only way I can put it. So there's plenty of other people to pray for in the world that really need our prayers. But I admit, I'm praying for Tyler Loop when I go to bed, that his family is safe and he can bounce back from this, because it's inexcusable to miss that kick, but it's much more inexcusable for the way he's going to be treated for the missed kick. So that's the positivity of last night. The negative is the other side of things. 4-way tie with a 3-win season for the first pick in the draft. So when you have a tie at the other end of the standings, it doesn't go by head-to-head. It goes by who had the weakest schedule. They take the winning percentage of all the teams that you played and look at who had the weakest schedule in strength of schedule. Because the way they figure it, Vegas, New York, Arizona, and Tennessee all only had 3 wins. Well, whoever had 3 wins but played the weakest schedule must be worse than the other 2 teams, or other 3 teams, or other how many teams are in the tiebreaker. So Vegas had the easiest schedule of all 4 teams that finished 3-14. So Vegas picks first. Second was the Jets, whose teams had a .552 winning percentage. Third was Arizona, who had a .571 winning percentage. And fourth is Tennessee at .574, which is kind of funny to think Tennessee won in Arizona in an embarrassing game for the Cardinals. And yet if they would have lost that game, they would clearly be sitting as the number 3 seed, or excuse me, as the third pick. And that third pick to me is really important because Vegas and the Jets are definitely taking a quarterback. So then that third pick is kind of like the number 1 position player pick. So if I'm the Cardinals, what I'm doing at that pick is I'm doing simultaneous heavy investigation into Tyler Simpson, the quarterback at Alabama, and trading the pick. And I'm watching those 2 things very closely. Simpson was fantastic for about 7 weeks last year. Last year being this previous college football season that's still going on. He was fantastic. Last 4 games, he was borderline below average to falling on his face. So what happened? I want to find out what happened before I dismiss him totally from my team. When I say dismiss him, I mean dismiss him from my draft board. So I'm going to do exhaustive amount of work on Tyler Simpson because he showed me enough signs where I could justify making him my franchise quarterback. And he showed me enough things where I would say, I'm not drafting you till the third round. See, the key here, the Arizona Cardinals cannot make a mistake that I have yelled and screamed about for years for every NFL team. Your need for a quarterback does not make that guy the right one. You can't fail when you draft quarterbacks. Now, obviously, nobody tries to fail. But what I mean is too many teams say we need a quarterback, so they draft one. Versus, no. You do the work and you absolutely fall in love and you're willing to stake your reputation that guy's going to make it. And he's going to be a highly successful quarterback. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to stake your reputation on that quarterback, you do not take a quarterback at number 3. So you don't settle for the third best quarterback because Vegas and the Jets passed on him. You go get yourself the quarterback that you believe in, that you're building around. And if it's not Ty Simpson, then you don't draft him. It's a pass rusher out of Miami that's just fantastic. The Miami that we're allowed to speak of. Ruben Bain. So what I would do then is I think the Cardinals are so terrible, the right move is to trade the pick if they get a great offer. And if they don't, they draft Bain. You sit there and for the rest of the next 4 months, does anybody offer you something better than the generational pass rusher and Ruben Bain? If somebody out, because you're so bad, you need as many picks as you can get. So if you get a great deal, you make the trade. And if you don't, you laugh all the way to the bank and you draft Ruben Bain. So that's my attack right now. Is it's Simpson or trade, and I'm exploring those two things forever. That's my main focus. And then I'm taking Bain if nobody thrills me in either category. If Simpson doesn't thrill me, or if the trade offers don't thrill me. All right, coming up next, we got a lot of ASU and UofA to talk about, and then I'm pretty much done. Problem is it's 5:57 in the morning because I didn't get home till midnight. That's coming up in just a second on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind. Man, I told you I was going to screw up today. It's weird when you get right back at it for the first time. Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass on Doug Franz Unplugged. See, commercial.
Here is Sue Rigler on starting 100 Mile Brewing Company.
What started 100 Mile Brewing Company is I actually have a degree in microbiology from ASU. Go Devils. And went back to school. I found out that UC San Diego had a brewing program, so I enrolled in that. And with the intention of opening a brewery, I came back to Tempe because it's Sun Devil country. I wanted to open a brewery in Tempe, which fresh it never gets old is our tagline. And I'm pretty much a stickler about fresh beer. It's got to be fresh. Otherwise, it's not going to be served here.
Hi, I'm Angie with Penny Royal Promotions. We decorate blank apparel, screen printing, embroidery, direct to film. Also, we provide promotional products, offset printing, tents, canopies, banners, business cards, anything you can put a logo on. Okay, Unplugged Army, if you own a business, you have an upcoming event, a charity function, golf tournament, we're the official provider of the Unplugged Army. Ask for Angie. I'm this year's Euchre champion.
Come check us out at Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp. We're on Estrella Parkway, just south of the 10. My name is Aaron. I also go by AG Kleino on Twitter. I've been in the Unplugged Army since the dark days, and my message to the listeners would just be, as far as Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp is concerned, is it's not selfish to care for yourself. At Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp, we strive to inspire fitness and change lives every day.
Well, now that the college football season is over locally, I guess we have to come to the same realization that we did last year when I said whenever we're going to talk ASU and U of A, we're always talking ASU first because they're the defending Big 12 champion. Well, now they're not. They're no longer the defending Big 12 champions, so I guess I should talk U of A first, because U of A finished with a better record. What was it? I can't remember U of A's. I think they finished with the same conference record, but obviously U of A has the head-to-head. So we'll start with U of A. I watched the Holiday Bowl, and it was weird. It was weird. I didn't understand what they were doing defensively in the first half, and I love Danny Gonzalez, but he's made that a point this year of really wanting to see what you're about to do, and then they shut you down in the second half. But they really allowed SMU to go off on them early, had a massive comeback due to some bonehead interceptions thrown by SMU. So they fight their way back, end up getting it reasonably close, and then give up a late score, and they lose 24-19. Or no, they didn't give up a late score. I think they were down 24-0. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot that. It was 24-0 at halftime. Oh, okay, I realize why I was thinking that. It was because U of A had the football, and you're thinking you've got an opportunity now to be able to take the lead. And that was when U of A threw an interception on Noah Fafita had a tipped ball for a pick. And I think U of A was... No, they wouldn't have taken the lead, but they could have made it 24-20. That's what it was. And then you knew there would have been more time for another possession, and they could have scored and taken the lead. Here is Brent Brennan with I cut it down a little bit because he really started to ramble, but in his opening statement, he had a neat moment talking about Fafita.
I really do want to take a moment as I'm sitting here looking at Noah and Riley just talk about how special this team was. All year this team bought in and lived Redline. That started last January. Really at a time when no one gave us a chance. And I think it's worth noting that Team 122 here at the University of Arizona, is one of 8 teams in the history of our program to win 9 games. So to me, that is incredibly impressive from a team that was picked to be dead last in the Big 12. I think it's also important that I let everybody know that 3 weeks ago we had some of our players tell us that they were not going to play in the football game. And those are family decisions, and we respect that. We love those guys. Those guys have made an incredible impact on our program this season and for all the years they've been here at the University of Arizona. And I want to be respectful of that for them and their families.
Thought it was interesting the way he made it a point to say we knew 3 weeks ago we were going to have players that weren't going to play. Didn't tell anybody about that, like publicly. I don't know if he thought they don't deserve the scrutiny for not playing, felt the need to cover for them. There will never be a day where I'm a U of A fan, but I think I'm always going to be a Noah Fafita fan. Not as a pro quarterback, but just you look at that kid and you go through the coaching changes, you go through learning to not force the ball to T-Mac all the time. You go through this season that with last year being terrible and this year being so much better. And so many doubts about him all the time, and yet he comes back and plays in a bowl game. I'm a little disappointed. You can say all you want that it's a family decision. Okay, I get all that. But a little disappointed some of those kids from U of A didn't say, well, if Noah's playing, I'm playing. I actually think that kid deserves that kind of loyalty from his teammates. I think it's a mistake. And the other thing is, I think it's a terrible mistake for any of the U of A players. I realize there's always a threat of getting hurt, always that threat. And I'm going to say the same thing about Raleek Brown and ASU. I think it's a mistake when you didn't put together the season collectively that you were hoping for, and you miss out on putting more on tape, showing more scouts what you can do. I think a lot of kids have been sold a bill of goods of, hey, don't play in your bowl game, don't play in your bowl game, go get ready for the draft, go. No. The best way to get ready for the draft is to play football, is to show people how much you love football. And I think that was a mistake by some of the U of A kids. I think it's a mistake by Raleek Brown and some of the ASU kids that have done the same thing. Basketball-wise, full disclosure, U of A fan, I didn't get a chance to see. I saw the SMU game. I didn't get a chance to see your game against Utah. Mostly, well, I have Farmer Braxton, U of A fan, nice enough to give me his Peacock account. But without it being on my DVR, I did not have time to pull it up and watching every game that I've watched over the course of the last week. But they were a winner by almost 20 over Utah. Braden Berries had 17 points and 11 boards. UofA came off the bench, 18 points, 12 boards. That blew me away. Coming off the bench and being the leading scorer. And you know, from the second I saw U of A against Florida, I have been amazingly impressed with them. So I'm not going to go deep dive into the game that I didn't see. But in listening to some of the things that Tommy Lloyd said, I was really interested in that. And one of the things is how he found motivation in just simply starting a new year.
We've been really focusing on kind of this, it's a new year. It's kind of you're starting a conference season 0-0. So let's treat it as such and let's be excited to play. And I thought our guys did that. I thought we came out in the game and we really had great early effort, early energy. And, we were able to kind of build a little bit of a cushion and play off it. But what I will say is I never felt comfortable. I mean, I played in this building too many times. And Utah, they kept coming. They kept coming. They got some talented players. And, I thought, they had stretches of the game where they played really well tonight. So I want to give them credit as well.
That was kind of a game rundown, but there were two really good questions one really good question and one just kind of rambling thing that Lloyd took in an interesting direction. One question was about the team's balance in the game because they had, I think it was 5 players in double figures. It might have been 6. And the question kind of turned in a way I didn't expect. It was when you have so many guys that can score the basketball, when you have such balanced scoring that you're not reliant on one person. How does that help when you're dealing with the opposition going on a run? Because Utah was playing in kind of spurts where they were, not very good, not very good, not very good. Boom, maybe they're getting back in the game. Not very good, not very good. And they would go through these spurts where they would go on a mini run like 9-2. And I love the way that whoever asked this question kind of turned it into how does your balance and the balance scoring that you have be able to help you navigate the opposing team's runs?
Well, it allows you to kind of settle in on a rotation, subbing wise. So you can get guys rest. You don't feel like when sometimes a team makes a run and you're afraid to sub, and it's happened to me a lot. You're afraid to sub, so you might leave a guy out there, for 3 or 4 minutes longer than he usually was, and then you kind of run their legs out of them. And so I just think when you have multiple guys that contribute, you're a little more comfortable sticking to a kind of a closer to a subbing rotation where guys, have certainty and know where their opportunities are going to come. And then the other thing is it's a luxury of having a lot of good players. It's a lot of good players, and we don't ever want to be a program that's just relying on one guy. We want our good players to love playing with other good players, and we want to be a program that guys want to make each other better. And at the same token, I want to help my brother, but I also understand my brother helps me, and we want those things to be, kind of, a core part of our identity.
If you're an ASU fan, I don't know how you feel about the times that I'm sitting here talking about U of A. I always joke it was weird when I was living in the SEC in Alabama. If I talked about Auburn, Alabama fans, every other SEC fan is a diehard listener. They want to hear because they want to know what's going on with their rival. So they're listening to any conversation that has to do with the SEC because it's the SEC. However, when I moved to Kansas City, they've got Mizzou, KU, and K-State are the three huge, and a little bit of Iowa fans, but mostly those three. And if I talked about one of those three, the other two really didn't care. Just, they didn't have any conference loyalty or more specifically want to know anything. They just wanted to be out. And then here, it was crazy. I mean, every time I would talk U of A here, ASU fans would light up Twitter or light up our phone lines, or when Doug and Wolf first started, light up faxes. We'd get faxes. Quit talking U of A. This is an ASU town. Stuff like that. I do talk about both ASU and U of A because I think that's a flaw of my old job where we're going to talk Kyler 24 hours a day, and I didn't like that. I'm not denying the fact that it was the number one topic. Talk about the number one topic. But there still should be some other things to talk about. So that's why I do it this way on this show. Talk about everything. Just put the stuff that was more important in the beginning or that attracts more attention. But the reason why I equally talk ASU and U of A too is because I just care about what can we learn from. And the reason why I like that quote, it doesn't matter that I'm not a U of A fan. I've never heard that. He admits it's hard when you're giving up a run to stick to your substitution rotation. And it actually causes some drama because kids that know, you heard him say, kids know when their opportunities are about to come. You know, if you're always coming in at about the 15-minute mark of the game, then you know what to prepare yourself for. Well, then if the coach is worried about a run and he doesn't bring you in, well, then it becomes, what did I do wrong? Why am I losing my opportunities? The other team's on a run because the guys in there aren't doing as well as they should, so your answer is to keep me on the bench? You see where that goes? It brings up a lot of drama, and you've got to have the clarity to trust this is what we do. Doesn't mean you shouldn't change in other circumstances. You got to adjust. You got to make, yeah, of course. But I love that conversation where the balanced scoring gives the ease of I can still sub because whoever I'm leaving on the floor will be able to pick up the slack of whoever I've taken off the floor. And then the last one I thought we can learn from, Tommy Lloyd was asked about playing two bigs at the same time because he does that quite often. And how does as the guy's trying to ask the question, all of a sudden Tommy Lloyd just cuts him off like, hey, this is what I do. I know what I'm doing.
I've been playing two bigs for a lot of years, and obviously that's a comfort of mine. And, I think there's a lot of ways to look at the game of basketball. And, I think if you look at, successful college teams, the one thing that they can do, they're there for the fight. They're there for the fight. For the physical battle, they're there. And I think that's been proven, and that's been, allowed teams to be consistent, high level performing, especially in the tournament. So, of course we want to look at that. And, but I love skilled basketball. I love teaching basketball, but I also understand at the end of the game, you can do all this cute stuff, but if you can't rebound, if you can't put your chest on people on defense, if you can't protect the paint, if you can't, put foul pressure on the other team and rim pressure on the other team, man, you're living and dying with a lot of jump shots. And, for me, just the kind of, and I'm not, let's not act like I'm some maestro. Sometimes it's just how it comes together. And a big part of recruiting is you appreciate the ones you were able to get to say yes. And the ones we got to say yes are built to play a certain way, and we want to take advantage of that.
I love the intensity of that answer. There's a lot of things going on out there, but here's what matters. My bigs not being afraid to put their chest on somebody and moving people. I'm going to talk ASU hoop now, but that is where I would start. As Diop is doing a fantastic job on the offensive glass. But on the defensive glass, he plays scared. He doesn't play with an anger of, this is my paint, I own all of you. He can show his great athleticism on the offensive boards. But the defensive boards are brute strength and anger, and it's not getting done. I didn't like the way Bobby Hurley started his press conference.
They're a good team. Tad does a good job. He's done a good job ever since I coached against him all this time. So hats off to Colorado. They outplayed us, and they're the winner. Questions?
They outplayed us. Questions? Listen, I don't want him to be happy. ASU lost 95-89, got out-rebounded by 10, and Colorado made 32 free throws. That's a ton. And I know he had a problem with the officiating, as he always does. But the one thing is, the reason why I don't like that style of press conference there in the beginning is Bobby Hurley, by making the officials such a big deal, I think either gives players an excuse to not be as accountable as they need to be because it's the ref's fault, or Bobby Hurley makes it appear to them that the refs are so egregious we can't overcome this, that it really is this terrible. Well, it can't always be that terrible. I'm a big Bobby Hurley fan, but that would be my biggest critique of Bobby Hurley, is I think he creates drama where there doesn't have to be. And I understand why, because for him, it's all about basketball. There is no drama. It's just the game. But I don't think he realizes the effect he has on his team by having a press conference like that, where that's what you say. When somebody asks for an opening statement, you say, no, I'm ready for questions. But to just kind of say that.
They're a good team. Tad does a good job. He's done a good job ever since I coached against him all this time. So hats off to Colorado. They outplayed us, and they're the winner. Questions?
It just seems too dismissive to me. Now, Bobby Hurley lit it up. He was really frustrated with his defense in this game, and obviously when you give up 95 points, you should be.
You're not going to win many games in this league, as good as this league is, if your defense is as bad as ours was. And that's just the reality. You know, giving up 48 points first half, giving up 95 overall, not handling, a pretty straightforward three-quarter court pressure, just missing a ton of shots like we've, for the last three games. I mean, I've talked about the other two games. We were 6 for 28 tonight from three, and you had a number of good looks that we can't make right now. So we're in a tailspin right now from behind the three-point line in the last three games. And we had made a lot of those shots going into the UCLA game, and it's part of the reason we had a good record. And, we were viewed as a really good three-point shooting team, but not the last three games.
I love brutal honesty, but at the same point, is his team in a position psyche-wise that where they handle it? We're in a tailspin, 3-point from behind the arc. Okay. Does that put more pressure on each kid before the next 3-point shot? This is the one I've got to lift us out of the doldrums. I'm the one that's got to save us. I mean, he knows his team. How are they going to respond to that? I don't know. And this last one, again, tell me what you know what, instead of me getting in the way of this, I'll just tell you, Chris Cartman, Sun Devil Source, just ask the question simply. Take us through the last minute of the game. If you didn't see it, Devils terrible, come all the way back, and they make it 87-86. Devils down by a point with 55 seconds left. And then the last minute is a disaster. It's amazing how many really not just bad turnovers from ASU, but just choking, just falling apart in the press. In the way that they poorly distributed the ball. You could tell it was a bunch of guys other than Mo Odom, which was like, I don't want the ball in my hands right now. And when you play basketball like that, you're playing scared. And, it shows. And they fell apart and give up an 8-3 run to end the game and end up losing by 6. So, Bobby Hurley, what happened in that last minute?
It's when Mo is, got 12 assists and 2 turnovers, and it's kind of a broken play. I know I had timeouts, but, we had AG in there on the throwback pass, but Mo kind of tried to fit the pass in the Masamba way. I mean, I'm going to complain about his judgment. I could have called a timeout, I guess. I've always been taught to, if you have a little bit of an advantage, and I thought we did in that situation, to just let the play go, especially the way they did a good job. They didn't show a lot of, three-quarter court pressure at all on film. They didn't play much zone this year at all. So saying, well, are they going to be confused, giving them a man play and a zone play? So we had them in man. I wanted them in man, and we just didn't make those plays. We fouled too much. We learned how to foul at halftime. We fouled 3 times in the first half, and we really did a great job of fouling them in the second half. They shot 31 free throws in the second half. So you can't beat anybody doing that. Or, I told them at halftime it was probably as bad a first half as we've had this year, or bad a half, in my opinion, just letting them shoot, not letting them shoot. They're a good team and they've beaten good teams, but 18 of 34 from the field. They also got 8 of those 16 misses that they had, an offensive rebound. So that's just all effort, and we weren't ready to play and defend and play with energy at that end of the floor, and it cost us. We had to play from behind, and these games aren't played like this anymore. This is, maybe in the Pac-12 you could go and think that 88s, we could beat someone 88, 86 or something, man. All day today I'm watching these games, or they're on the different games, and it's like 66-60, rock fight, possession, every possession matters so much. It's crazy. You give up 95 points, you're not gonna beat many teams in the Big 12 doing that.
Here's where I said, what do you think? To me, that sounds like a guy who knows, not that he's coaching for his career here at ASU, but that he already knows it's over. And I don't think that's right for your kids, if that's the case. If I'm talking to Bobby might look at me and say, Doug, I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. I'm giving everything I've got every second. But you've got to make sure that your players believe in everything. And to me, he sounds like a guy that is so forlorn because of a 3-game losing streak, that every loss means it's over. And I don't think that's what the players need right now. Now, like his sarcasm there, I guess we learned how to foul at halftime. That is East Coast humor. But is it translating? I think you get away with that stuff when you're winning. When you're not winning, your players find another excuse based on what you're saying. He sounded dismissive. I guess I could have called a timeout, but I was always looking at it like, I've got the team I want on the floor. I've got the defense I want, let them go. It didn't work, but I do totally agree. Mo Odom has made so many good decisions this year that you let him go on that play. And I understand why he did. But that is the job of a coach, is to recognize, wait, this is a broken play. How does it look? Okay, that's my job. I now call a timeout. And I would have looked at some of the bad turnovers and said, this is actually a game where maybe I should call a timeout. Normally I don't want to, but I had the feeling that we've had some bad turnovers. Let's calm down and reset at 87-86 instead of boom, a bad turnover from Mo. Not that you're going to, you're not going to anticipate everything as a coach. You're not going to anticipate your really good point guard who's made a lot of good decisions for 58 minutes suddenly, or I should say for 38 minutes, suddenly making a terrible decision. You're not going to anticipate that. But I think you can anticipate the general feeling of, hey, nobody's stepping up, making the right play right now in the last 20, 25 seconds. I've got a timeout left, too valuable of a possession as I see this possession breaking down. I don't know. I don't think that was a good press conference for Bobby Hurley yesterday. And now where are they going? Number 10 BYU on Wednesday night. I told you a little bit about the Sun Bowl in the beginning, about as far as the trip is concerned. Didn't really talk about the game. It was crazy to see those bad turnovers for ASU, but I got to tell you, it still blows me away how good of a coach Kenny Dillingham is. And you might say, why would you say that after ASU blew it? I would say that because he's got a bunch of fourth stringers against first stringers and almost beat a conference champion. That's why. That's how good of a coach he is. When you have a freshman running back, I think you have, and that's what they did because Raleek Brown didn't play. Udo is, I don't know what happened to him. So you got Robinson in there, freshman running back. If you didn't see the game, they're at around the 2-minute warning, 2-minute timeout. And the O-line busts one open for him. He's running the football. He's got a first down on 1st and 10, which should give you an easy, at least 80 to 90 seconds, maybe a full 2 minutes of clock that you can run out because he's got the first down. And instead of putting two hands on the ball and not necessarily going down easy, but understanding doing all you can for 1, 2, or 3 extra yards at the price of ball security is not worth it. He tries one big juke and allows the ball to get away from his body. He's still holding it in his arm, but he allows the ball to get away from his body, and he gets hit in that motion. And then someone comes from behind from Duke, blasts him in the back. And when I say that, I mean 100% legal. And now the ball comes out. The idea, it's a really stupid turnover. And I'm not saying the young man is stupid because I understand what happens. You're a freshman. You're trying to make a play. The seas parted. You're thinking you're going to get a 90-yard touchdown or 80-yard touchdown to ice it, whatever yard line they were on, but they were deep in their own territory. You see that thing, you get excited. And you're trying to think, I got this one man to beat, and if I can beat this one guy, I got a touchdown. And yet it doesn't matter because you're dismissing that there's 10 guys behind you that are ready to come hit you. And Duke didn't stop hustling, forced the turnover, and now they take the lead because of that terrible, terrible fumble. Well, I like the way Kenny Dillingham handled everything.
Yeah, losing sucks. You're not going to win many games when you lose the turnover battle like that. Yeah, obviously the stats. 600, what was it? 19 yards of offense, and defensively we played well in the biggest moments. We got to stop when it was needed, and that's a big piece of defense. They just made one more play than us. They're the champions of their conference for a reason. And our guys that took the field today played extremely hard. They played extremely well. I was very proud of how they played. And like I told the guys in the locker room, I think that shows that the future is bright. Oh, man, we just took a team to the wire. There's no moral victories, but there is a bright future here. And it's because of these seniors. It's because of the guys that have been here. The guys sitting up here have laid the foundation for future success. And I think today was a glimpse into that future success. And when those seniors get to come back and watch us play and see us play on TV, they can know that future success is because what they did here. We wouldn't have got there without them. We wouldn't be where we're going without those seniors. So they get to be a part of really the future build of what we're going to do here for a long time.
I think he's dead on right. That really does show the future's bright. And then specifically to Robinson's fumble, he said,
It was his first time really starting in college football. I mean, he had average 10 yards a carry, 12 rushes, 120 yards, 2 catches, 14 yards. He fumbled. Yeah, he shouldn't fumble. It's a 4-minute drill. Everybody knows that. He knows that. He didn't try to fumble. Right? He didn't do it on purpose. We called a bunch of bad plays out there today, right? And I get paid to do it, right? So I'm worse than him. And that's what I told him after the game is like, you think one play defines your game, that's not true. You're going to learn from it and watch. You're not going to make that same mistake twice. And but that dude played unbelievable today, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
I can tell you that's the kind of thing that creates lifelong loyalty. I mean, that's a terrible fumble. Not that any fumble is a good fumble, but oh my gosh, if you're down by 4 and you're at the goal line on 4th down and you fumble trying to stretch it over the end zone, over the goal line, okay. You know, there are times where you understand risk to reward. That fumble, there is zero reward worth the risk. It's better for you to take a knee. It's better for you to slide than it is for you to ever allow the ball remotely away from your body. You have one job in that situation, not fumble. That's more important than any get the first down. And the fact that he had the first down and fumbled is even worse. And yet the head coach doesn't lose his mind. Kenny Dillingham gets a bonus if he wins a bowl game. I don't know how much money Kenny Dillingham lost, but he lost a bunch of money. And he's like, hey, it's okay, young man. This is not going to define you for the rest of your career. You tell a kid that after the way he feels, he's not going to realize it now, but that's the kind of thing that generates loyalty for a long time. So Jeff Sims got the start, and it's just heartbreaking. Played really well, 5 touchdowns, 3 in the air, 2 on the ground. And yet, again, just like UofA, ASU has the ball, trailing, golden opportunity for Sims to march down the field and be able to put ASU in a position to kick a tying field goal or even better, get a game-winning touchdown. Throws a pick. Sims was asked afterwards what it meant that Kenny Dillingham trusted him to start and play instead of going with a young player and preparing for 2026.
It means the world, man. Coming out of Nebraska, it was low times, dark place for me. And I just appreciate Dilly for taking a chance on me. I told him that I just wanted to work. I just wanted to play football. And, even with me coming back this year, I just knew that anything that I could do to help my team, I was going to do it, because we've built that brotherhood. And I love these guys to death. I truly look at them as family. So it's been so – I'm just so grateful to have been here.
Yeah.
You had a really good game.
Yeah, but when the time came for me to make a play, I didn't. And, that's probably going to be the only thing I'm thinking about. It's cool to have the touchdowns and all that, but we didn't win, and we was in a position to win, and we didn't get it done.
For 175 yards accounted for 5 touchdowns, 71% completion percentage in the football game. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good way to end it. It would have been way better if we would have won the football game, as he said, but that dude's a special dude. Our team rallied behind him. Our team's faced a good amount of adversity this year, and we tried not to flinch. Obviously, things didn't go our way, and that's football, that's life, but this guy was a big part of why our team stayed together and why our team rallied to play so hard in this game and go on a 3-game winning streak there in the middle when people thought it was ending and the season was over in week 9, and for us to keep battling to get to this point, just one play short.
Again, what a coach. First of all, what a kid. For Jeff Sims to say that. I was in a dark place coming out of Nebraska. Isn't it amazing how so many ASU fans wanted to rip Jeff Sims after his performance in the Territorial Cup? And yeah, he stunk. There's no other way to put it. He stunk. But with Sam Levitt, they want to rip Sam Levitt for his quote-unquote lack of loyalty. Jeff Sims shows a great deal of loyalty, but because he had a bad game, he gets ripped for that. And now you really get to hear who this young man is of, yeah, the touchdowns are great. I had 5 touchdowns, but, you know, we had a chance to make a play and I didn't make it. And that's what I'm going to think of. And then to show you what true leadership is, Kenny Dillingham immediately says all the accolades that Jeff Sims deserves. Yeah, I'm really rooting for that young man going forward. All right, last one before versus Vegas. Here's Kenny Dillingham talking about all of the young guys that they're going to be staring down going forward that played in this bowl game.
Yeah, they both played really, really well. I mean, our tackles came in and played really well. Some of our freshman linemen came in and played really well. Our wide receivers played really well. You know, defensively, like I said, we made enough plays there at the end to win the football game with short fields. We made enough plays, but they made one more play than us. So we had a lot of guys play a lot more snaps. You know, Tommy Romano was out there, and he played really, really good football. And that's a guy like Crooks over here smiling because that's a guy who shows up and brings passion every single day. So to get Tony Nakuba's out there, so to get these guys on the field that haven't really played, and not just play a team, but play a team that just won a championship, and be in a position to win makes it hurt more, right? It's almost better to lose by 40, think you have no chance, you know, than to be there and be in it and really feel like you could have won the football game, but they made one more play than us. Give them a lot of credit.
ASU fans, I think you have a great football coach. I realize he's only been here 3 years. You can act like last season wasn't good enough. I think you have a great football coach. It's time for I almost feel like there won't be dancing for a long time now. Oh boy. Ugh. So I have a spiral reporter's notebook that I actually write these down. I should type it out somewhere in a spreadsheet, but I don't. And on the sheet before the current sheet, I went 11-6 total on that sheet. 1-1, 3-2, 1-2, 2-0, and 4-1. Really nice. And the sheet before that, I did okay. The sheet before that, I dominated. About 10-4, something like that. So things were going really, really well for a while. And then the sheet that I am on right now, 5-10, 1-2 into a 2-3, and then the Friday of Beer Friday, thanks to 100 Mile Brewing Company, before I left, just got destroyed, and I went 2-5. 2-5. And what's weird is I got every sport wrong except basketball, and I went 2-0 in the NBA. I've been doing well. NBA and college basketball, I've been doing really well. My hockey picks haven't been that good, and I blew it in college football. Last Friday, I took A&M to beat Miami and cover. A&M didn't cover because they didn't win. And I took Oregon to cover the 20.5, and Oregon won by 17. Wasn't enough. So I'm hurting. We need to pick it back up. So here's what I got for you today. Pistons are on the back end of a back-to-back, flying home from Cleveland last night. So I like the Knicks minus 2.5. Love Philly over Denver. The Nuggets still don't have Jokic, and the Nuggets are on the back end of a back-to-back. So we'll take Philly to cover the 11.5. I am going for blood money. Yes, I love my Suns. But listen, there are certain games you can just look at and say, there's no way a young team can play 3 games in 4 nights, win all 3 with 2 of the games against the best teams in the Western Conference, and knock off the number one team and turn right around, fly to Houston, and win again. So I'm going to take Houston minus the 7.5. I know you're yelling at me when here I am saying I'm a Suns fan and I'm picking against it. My job is to be right. It's not to be a fan. I can be a fan while I'm watching the game. I got Nebraska on the money line on the road at Ohio State tonight. Nebraska's by far a better team than Ohio State. And you get plus 125 juice if you take Nebraska on the money line because Ohio State's even favored. And I got Michigan State covering USC. Trojans are in East Lansing. And I've only got to get the win by 12 as MSU is favored by 11.5. I like the Spartans. Voice is starting to go because it's not in shape. Oh, there we go. Took a quick cheap spray and a drink. All right. Sound credits today. Man, I'm choking right now. No, I don't mean my throat. I just mean I'm falling apart. My stamina's gone at 6:45 in the morning. I'm not used to doing this after taking a couple weeks off. I got Bobby Hurley from Sun Devil Source. I got Kenny Dillingham from Sun Devil Source on YouTube. I got Devin Booker, Jordan Goodwin, and Jonathan Goodwin and Jordan Knott from the Suns YouTube page. I also got Sims from Sun Devil Source, and I got Jacoby Brissett and Jonathan Gannon from the Arizona Cardinals YouTube page. And then I got that funny old man sheriff from Fox 13 in Florida, fox13news.com. That guy, I want you to be Baker. Let me tell you, gosh, there's no flow to this ending right now. Can you see what it's like when you know what you're doing? You're in a nice, easy flow, and you're a good broadcaster. But when take a little time off, it is not riding a bike. So tomorrow's show will be better. We'll have Town Hall Tuesday. The January giveaway for those of you that are Whirlwind Plus members, a 2-night stay at Wild Horse Pass, and $200 credit to Prime Steakhouse. Are you kidding? Do not miss out on that. You want to be a winner? All you have to do is become a Whirlwind Plus member and then wait and check your email. They pull a winner every month out of everybody, whether you've been a member for years, whether you've only been a member for hours. Everybody that's a Whirlwind Plus member has an equal opportunity chance to be chosen at the end of the month. So become a Whirlwind Plus member right now. They also have a 2-person scramble for $99 total coming up in a week. I think it's this weekend, the 11th. You want more information, email me, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com, and I'll get it to you. Bell's Nashville Kitchen, located in Old Town Scottsdale. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. Parker & Sons, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. Please don't let that go in one ear and out the other. They've always been on time. They don't charge extra for nights, weekends, or emergencies. You're not going to find anybody more trustworthy in the business. Heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical. All of those areas, Parker & Sons. Burrito Express has locations all across the east side and coming to a Circle K near you. By far the best breakfast burrito you've ever had in your life. 100 Mile Brewing Company, the proud sponsor of Beer Friday, and A Mountain Amber Ale, the best beer in the history of the state. They're located at the 202 Rural and Scottsdale Road. I just went there and had the huge fried chicken sandwich yesterday. And Pennyworld Promotions is one of our newest sponsors. Man, thank goodness. I need to reach out to Angie and about new T-shirts coming. Oh no, I messed up. And man, am I choking. And our newest advertiser, Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp, right here in Goodyear, who can help you see the results that you're dreaming of in a wonderful area of just a group of people coming together to help make you as great as you can be. I don't have anything else to say, Al.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug French Unplugged.